Good evening, my brothers and my sisters. I tried to do this video earlier and I had some trouble with the audio settings. I pray that this reaches you because it is a very important subject and it's one that affects a lot of people more than you know. I myself am a domestic violence survivor. Been pistol whipped, shot up, cut up, beat up, you name it, this body has had it. I'm 71 years old now and God has been really good to me. On the day that my ex-husband finally shot me, he had two guns that he took in and he traded them in for a new gun and a box of hollow point bullets. I want to speak to both men and women who are going through this thing called domestic violence. First of all, to the women, I want to say to you that there is help for you. During my time, there was no help. By the time they talked to the man, the woman had became violent. You know, they call us women, black women especially, we're hostile. But these men could talk the police officers out of thinking that you're the culprit. And if a woman should really take matters into her own hands and do something to protect herself, we receive more time than a man. A man can shoot you and you die, and he only gets 7 years. A woman shoots a gun, the man survives, and when they give her 14 to life, the laws need to change. I've heard judges say, why did they stay? That now, when you're in a domestic violence situation, you cannot get out. You don't have the physical capabilities. Your mindset has been altered. You think that you cannot make it, that you will not survive, that everything he or she has told you that you were. They told you that you were nothing, you were nobody, no one would ever want you. Meantime, they're beating you. And you begin to feel like what they say. There's no hope. So we stay. I want to say to my sisters, we are not strong black women because we want to be. We don't want to wear the pants and the dress. We want to help our brothers build. But some of them are of the mindset that they need to dominate by beating the weaker sex. When a man hits you the first time, you leave. He'll say to you, oh, baby, I'm sorry. It's going to get better. I'll give you this, give you that, make you feel like a queen till the next time. If it's done once, he's going to come back and do it again and again and again because he builds up on lowering you down. It has nothing to do with you. It's all about domination. He wants to control you. And eventually, after years and years of this, you begin to think just what he said you are. You see yourself as nothing. No one will ever want you. You're beaten down. You see no hope. But I want you to know that there is hope for you. Those 6 bullets that he used to shoot me with, that bullet fragments, the 38 hollow points, and they went everywhere except my head and my feet. And I'm here to tell you that when you make up your mind to leave, that is the worst time for you. You need to have a plan. What you ought to do is tell no one except your parents if you're still alive. Get an apartment. If you can, leave the state. Leave everything you got. When you make up your mind that you're no longer going to be beaten, that you've had enough, do not say I'm staying for the sake of the children because you're actually hurting them. You do children more harm by staying in that situation. Like my phone is ringing. People always call when you have something important to say. I want to speak to all of my sisters and my brothers because believe me, working at Women in Distress, there are men as well who are in needs. Women now have gotten to the point where they push the laws and they think they can get away with anything. Keep your hands to yourself, women. And I'm pretty sure if you've got a real man, one that was raised up and he knows not to violate a woman, you keep your hands to yourself, you may not get beat. But there are some men who do it to boost their ego, like my ex-husband. I began to see that he was going to really kill me. When people tell you who they are and what they're going to do, you believe them the first time because they're really going to do it. The guns were coming out frequently. I worked sometimes 3 to 8 in the morning, always worked night shifts, sometimes double shifts. And he worked a split shift. I didn't need an alarm clock because he was going to come in and wake me up with a gun pointed at my head. It got to the point where I was dreaming that he'd already killed me. The last time he did it was New Year's night, and when the police came, he hid the gun inside of his car, and he was talking to them like they were old friends. They thought I was the problem. I was just an angry black woman because he'd been gone for the entire weekend, and it was New Year's Eve, and he came home that Monday night. I was getting ready to go to work, and he pulled the gun out and said he was going to shoot me then. Mind you, he's the one that had been out, not me. I often think that because he wasn't treated well by his women, he'd come out and take it out on me to feel like a real man. At the time, I think I weighed 110 pounds, and he was 245, 6'4". But I want you to know he didn't win all the battles. Sometimes he had to be running as well. But I got to a point where I did not want to fight him anymore. He'd beaten all the fight out of me. No matter what I had on, I didn't look good in it. Someone next to me or could walk by and have on the same outfit and make a big scene. I went in the grocery store. I walked my head down because people that I'd gone to school with, I dare not speak to them. That was my man, and I was sure to get beaten when I went home. He liked to go to bars. That was never my thing. But occasionally he would say to me, "You think you're better than I am," and force me to go. I knew what was going to happen. It was going to embarrass me, and I had to walk home. Let me say to you, men, when you love someone, really love them, if you wouldn't hurt yourself, why do you hurt the person that's going to hold you up, that's got your back? Someone who's helping you build not just a relationship, but build a solid foundation to accumulate some nice things in the world, working with you to make you a king that you are. And yet, when the queen is beside you, you beat her. You call her everything but a child of God. I began to think that my name was that female dog that's on the loose, the B word. I was called that so much I thought that was my name. That's how he addressed me. And I allowed it because eventually I became afraid of him. I knew that he was going to kill me. It took 11 years. And when I began to see and dream about being dead, I made a plan. I left house, duplex, the 5 vehicles that we had, my motorcycle that I cherished and loved. I left everything. Clothes, furniture, you can have it all. I want to leave with sanity and clarity of mind. I submitted a plan, and I was to go to another place called Homestead. I'd already secured an apartment and a job, but I didn't want to go. I wanted to stay here. I wanted to be in familiar surroundings. So I left my children with my mother, and I started working at a new hospital. One of my daughters, the one that was in the car today, he shot me, began to get my mom in trouble, so I went and got her. When I went to the school board, I begged them. I told them my situation. Do not give out my address. Don't supply any of my information to anyone. Well, they did anyways, because he was a fantastic manipulator. This man could look you in the eye and smile, and he could actually talk you into thinking you didn't have a dress on if he chose to. That's just how much manipulation he was. And he was a smooth talker. He called himself Mr. Big Stuff. In my mind, I knew that he was an abuser. I know when I got with him. He'd already beaten me before we got married, but I thought in my mind, I can change him. Ladies, let me tell you, if he has not been changed by his mother, by his daddy, you can't do it because he's a grown man. It's already instilled in him. I found out later on that being the baby of the family, he stayed his own mom. The first time I met his mother, the first time I went to Carolina, this woman was in there. We got there that morning. I was making breakfast for my 2 children. And I forgot what he asked me to do. But you know, in the country, they have these big houses that sit on these huge bricks. So in the kitchen, I'm fixing breakfast, didn't do what he said. The man knocked me out of that kitchen. First time I met his mom. I sat on the tobacco field almost all day. No water, sun blazing. I was embarrassed. and I was hurting. The mom never came to see if I was okay. How could you do that as a woman? How could you allow your son to do that? You know it, and you say nothing. Thank God my son is raised correctly. If the woman keeps her hand to herself, she'll be all right. And he's going to let her hit him a couple of times because he's bigger. He's stronger. He knows that. And he knows what I went through. He was in the car the day I got shot. He was 4 years old, standing up behind me. And my 9-year-old daughter was sitting beside me. The man didn't care. He'd made up his mind he's going to kill me because I would not return. This is not about love. It's not love at all. It's about control and their ego. I dare you leave me. Who do you think you are? Manipulation sets in, and if you're not careful, you'll never leave. You need to make up in your mind that you're a person and you deserve to be treated a lot better than what you're getting. Once you decide that you're not going to allow it, first of all, you need a plan. Women, stop talking so much, especially my sister. We have a habit of always telling men, I'm leaving, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Stop it. Let him think everything is okay, but your plan is made. You've had enough, and you're going to move on. Act like nothing is wrong. Fix him a nice dinner. Do whatever you need to do. All of you saw what's love got to do with it. You saw how she acted. So everything. Do that. Knowing you're going to leave. Don't look back. Believe that he's going to kill you. If he said it, believe it and act on it. You cannot change a man. I don't care how strong you are. I don't care what you do. If it's in him, if he knows nothing else but beating you to make him feel stronger. Men, we are your queens. If you get a decent woman, she will help you build anything you want. She needs to know, like Mother said, if someone knocks on the door at 4:30 in the morning, you say, baby lady, I got this. She needs to know that you're going to cover her. Beating a woman into submission is a cowardly way out. And women, you got to stop it. Say to my sisters and even men who are in those abusive relationships, no longer take it. There are shelters. You can go get a restraining order. I had 6 of them. He found out where I lived. And one night I was going to work. The people, as I said, from the school board gave him my address. He showed up. When I opened the door, he was standing there. I almost fainted. I said I was on my way to work. He followed me to work. Thank God for favor. The nursing supervisor, I told her what was going on, and I was fearful my husband was going to hurt. She immediately opened the back door and let me out of ER. When he realized that my car was gone and I was at home, he showed up on my doorstep in my apartment. When I saw who was knocking on my door again, I told him to go to the window. I had him to raise his pants legs. I looked under the socks. I had him to open his jacket and turn around. Let me look in the waistband. I thought he had a gun in his pocket to empty his pockets. I was debating in my mind, if I don't open this door, I know him. He's going to kick this door in a window, and he's going to kill me. I already had filed for the divorce, but he not received the papers. And that particular night, after he left, when I called the police, they told me I had to have a restraining order with me at all times. I had an attorney, and at the time, my divorce started out at $1,500. It turned into $5,000, a little over $5,000. My attorney was afraid to go to court. Said he wasn't going to go with me until this man was in jail. However, he did supply the restraining orders. I got copies of it, had 6 in the glove compartment the day I got shot. You cannot hold up a piece of paper. It's just paper, people. You cannot stop bullets with a paper. Do not put all of your trust in a restraining order. You have got to make a plan. If you can, move to a different state. But flee from him or her. When they say it, they mean it. Tell me you're going to hurt me. You don't have to do it. I believe you. While you're saying it, if I can, it's not a coward's way. I'm going to try to talk my way out of it. But if I can't, we're going to be making plans to do something to somebody else because I'm not going to be abused like that anymore. I just, even as a pastor, I'm not going to do that. Being a person that you let people walk all over you is not being a good person. You're actually being a fool. Because what you allow people to do, that's exactly what they're going to do. When a person is mean and vicious, they have no conscience. This man was so good and adept at what he did. He fooled me every time he beat me. He'd go to the doctor, even have him inject dye into his neck to see if he had a tumor. What was causing these strange behaviors? There was nothing wrong with him. What was wrong with him is that he was just a violent, evil man. And until you want to change, until you seek professional counseling, you're going to remain in that state. And if you have been abused, don't be ashamed. Don't let the pastor, the church members, or your family, your friends in the Black community especially tell you that you cannot go see a psychiatrist. That abuse will live with you forever. You will suffer from post-traumatic stress syndrome. You will get depressed if you haven't dealt with it in the right way. And you might even end up, like I did, in an institution where they locked the doors. Doctor said I needed a rest. I got there and the doors were slammed. They began to search me, take away all of my things, locked me up. My husband that I have now was the one that noticed it. He said, "Oh, there's something wrong with you." I never noticed it. I thought I survived it. I moved on. I'm a good woman. And that was that. That was all behind me. Depression sucked me. What they told me was, when you don't deal with issues and it's too hard for the brain, it will lie dormant for a period of time. And when you slow down and allow it to work, allow yourself to rest, when you stop raising kids, stop working so hard and relax, the brain says, okay, it's time to deal with this. And that's when you're in trouble. I was patting myself on the back. I'm a survivor. I made it through that. I'm going to go back to the day that he actually shot me. That night when he showed up, in order to get him away, he used alcohol, by the way, to make excuses for his behavior. That particular day, I wanted to get him away from my apartment and wanted to borrow some money. I guess he was trying to see where my mindset was. I gave him the money and he finally left after quizzing me for a while and asking me who was calling me on the phone and why did I leave and was I coming back. And I talked so nice to him. The next day he came by, didn't have my money, he just dropped by and happened to be there when my attorney called. And I was talking so strange, the secretary knew that he was there, so she called 911 for me. I was blessed to have already had a copy of the restraining order, and I guess that made him angrier because on that Wednesday, he called me up and he said he was going to repay the money that I had given him. The daughter that always got between I and the gun was 12 years old, and I never left my children alone, never. This particular day, I had a mindset not to take her. Because when the guns got out, she stretched her little hands out and said, "Dad, if you shoot Mama, you're going to have to shoot me." She always got between us and the gun. And she meant what she said. She was very protective. Even at 12 years old, she had a mindset to protect her mother. That particular day, I said to her, "I've got some clothes in the washer. I want you to take them out and put them in the dryer." So I took the 9-year-old who was sitting next to me, and I took the 4-year-old who was standing up behind me. We were going to a friend's house, a mutual friend. He said he would meet me there and he'd give me the money. I didn't want him at my house. So I said, "Okay, I'll be there in a few minutes." I had no idea this was the day he was going to do what he said he was going to do. When I got there, I had enough time to back my car out so that I was facing the street. And that particular day, I'd been a little sick the night before, so I had my windows cracked about this much. When he came back, there was a little store in the corner. He said he was going to cash a check and he would bring me my money. So I waited. He was talking so nice that I didn't see anything coming. I never knew that he had plotted to kill me. The friend knew, but he said he thought he was just talking. like he always talks. I wonder, why didn't he call me? He'd been shot by a female in domestic violence, and I watched him. When they told him he'd never use his leg again, I watched him go from a huge dead leg, it was completely dead, to being able to move it. He went from the bed to crutches, told me that God said he was going to walk again, and he walked to the day he died. I watched the man make up his mind to use it. But he didn't call me and give me a hint. He said, I thought he was just talking. And he came back from the store. He leaned in the window and he said, are you coming home? And I said, no. He said to me, you got your final warning. And I popped up, you got your final answer. I had my gun under my seat, never thinking that he was going to kill me. He didn't act the way he usually did when the guns came out. The next thing I know, he pulled his jacket back and the gun was in his waistband. When I saw his eyes, I knew there was no doubt. This was the day he was going to kill me. There was no doubt in my mind. I couldn't reach for my gun. I couldn't start the car because he was right there in the window. That car lit up like a firecracker. The first bullet entered my pelvic area. It traveled up and just did a lot of damage to my stomach. Shot me in my left side, and when I put my hand over there, he shot me again. He tore off one tip to one of my fingers. He tore the diaphragm loose from the abdomen, ruptured both lungs. Should not have been able to breathe. And the final shot, when he shot me again, I leaned over the steering wheel and he shot me twice in the back. Mind you, these are 38 hollow point bullets. The bullet that went in my left breast, the doctors call it a magic bullet. There's still fragments there. It should have blown my heart out of my back. But because of the grace of God, let me tell you, people, God is real. As I was going out, I told my daughter to go in the house and get some help because her daddy shot me. When she opened the car, she didn't just walk out, she fell out. So I said, oh my God, out of the corner of my eyes, he's already shot her too. And I could see him out with my peripheral vision. And in my mind, I said, oh my God, he's going back to reload. He's going to come back and finish me off. I didn't know that he ran down the street to more neighbor's house and put the gun on one of the shelves. In my mind, he was going to finish it. But as I was going out, I began to talk to the living room. He's real, people. And I want you to know before you leave this body, you're going to have a genuine encounter with him. I cannot describe to you what he looked like. I'd be lying if I tried to explain. This light is behind me, but the light that I experienced that day was so bright and so beautiful. There was a feeling of love, nothing but love. My light did flash before me. It was like a movie camera. It must have been seconds, but in my mind, it went on and on and on and on. We had a conversation, and I said, I want to live long enough to see my children old enough so they could take care of themselves. I had a choice. I could leave or I could stay in this beautiful place. I said, I want to go with my children. And even though I don't remember it, my mom said by the time she was called and she got there, they told her I'd already been deceased. She said, Hope, they put you on the gurney. They put you on the stretcher and they pulled the sheet over your head. And they told me that you were already gone. One of the ambulance attendants, the EMT, was packing up and putting the equipment away. And they had this sheet on me. My mom said the other one's calling to the hospital, the DOA, dead on arrival. However, the sheet began to move. And they said, oh my God, she's breathing again. They began to work again. And when the police got there, mind you, my lungs are full of blood. They are both deflated. My diaphragm that rises when you take a breath has been torn from my abdomen. There is no medical reason why I should have lived. The bullet that went under my left breast that left all of those fragments should have taken me out. The two bullets that are in my back, they left them there. They're so close to the spine, they cannot remove them. As you can see, I can hardly remove my neck now. Eventually, I had surgery to remove 5 discs that were pressing on my spinal cord. I had surgery done on my lower back because the disc was there and one of the bullets had traveled down, and I had quite a bit of trouble. When you get shot, you never, ever, ever recover from that. Whatever is torn up, you will have some symptoms and aches and pains for the rest of your life. It never goes away. It reminds you of what you have suffered through. That particular day when I had a talk with God, I knew I was going to live and not die. When I got to the hospital, I heard them say gunshot, 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 but it was far away. When I finally got there and got on the table, all of a sudden I could not breathe and I was frightened. I know what it means when you're drowning in your own blood. Could not breathe. They knew because they knew me. The supervisor was there. She said, "Oh my God, it's my Kathy." I'd worked under her before. So she knew me and she knew what I was going through. While I was working in that hospital, somehow he got in his mind that I wasn't working. And one day I was clocking out, and when I knew anything, everything went black. He walked up behind me and took his pistol and hit me in the top of my head. I've got about 22 stitches in there. Always reminded me when I combed my hair of what he did. And then he dragged me down the stairs, got me in his car. While we were on I-95, at that time you could drive 75 miles an hour. He drove with the gun sticking in my side, and he was telling me all along that he was going to kill me. I was so petrified that I jumped out of a moving car. This thing was so violent and so vicious. I don't even know how I got back to the hospital. But I remember going in, and I was wearing a wig, and they removed it and they stitched me up. And they knew me because I'd worked there before, as I said. It's always good to leave favor when you leave a place because favor will follow you. The day that he shot me, finally, I was so glad when they put those chest tubes in. They told me later on that I was like a wounded animal. When the fluid began to drain out of me, all I could say was, and I began to breathe. You don't know what it's like till you cannot breathe. Cannot breathe. No matter how hard you waste on the abdomen, you cannot breathe up and down. But God, when God says something, believe what God says and do not receive the report of a man. The doctor who came in, the surgeon, it's ironic, his name was Dr. Gunn. And I heard him tell my mother, if you know how to pray, I suggest you do it because she's not going to make it off the operating room table. I'm thinking to myself, God said I'm going to live and not die. Why is he saying that? When they came out of surgery, I recall the elevator door opening. He thinks and they think I'm in a coma. This made me stop talking in ICU over my patients because hearing is the last thing to go. And sometimes they hear everything you're saying. I stopped talking to the family members about their condition, and I would move outside of the unit and discuss them because I know that hearing is the last thing to go. And if you say they're going to die, they're not going to get any better, the situation is worse, some people will begin to believe that. However, I was not one of those people. I was going to go on what God said, and I didn't care what Dr. Gunn said about it. Again, when those elevators, they took me to ICU, and when I got to ICU, it was on a ventilator with all these tubes going everywhere. They had police guards on the door because he did bail out after I lived. It was no longer murder, it was attempted murder. And his family members put up their house and bailed him out. Family members will support people even in their wrongdoings. My son and my grandson, I tell them, if you hit a woman, I'm on their side. And I mean that. When you're wrong, and I'm not going to support. His own mother came to visit because he was in jail. And she snubbed my children. I went over there because their cousin called and begged me to go. Said to me, oh, she needs to see her grandchildren. You know how she loves them, la-da-da, la-da-da. She came all the way to North Carolina. After she'd been here about 7 days, I took my children over there, and I was so sorry. She could visit her son in prison. My mother almost had to go to a graveyard, but she's the one with an attitude. Women, when your children are wrong, do not support them. Now, let me get back to the day I got shot. I was in ICU. I heard him tell my mother again, She's not going to make it through the night. Went in there. We discovered that all the feces was in the abdomen. She's going to be dead from septicemia. Don't get your hopes up. And I said, why is he saying that to myself? Because I knew I was going to live. I didn't care what Dr. Gunn said. God said I was going to live. Then he said to her, well, you know, pneumonia is going to get her. Keep pronouncing death sentences over me. I did not accept that, people of God. And when someone pronounces that, don't receive it. Whatever God has said, you stand on it and don't be moved, because God has the final say so. When I was off the ventilator and I was awake about 2 weeks later, I told Dr. Gunn everything that he said when I could finally speak, because I was writing notes all alone. He did not know how I heard him. He was amazed because he knew what he said. I heard it, and God said I was going to live. I was in the hospital maybe about a month. Then I had to have all kinds of physical therapy. I got down to about 89 pounds because I had a colostomy bag. And for those of you who don't know what that is, when they go into your intestines, you no longer have a bowel movement out of your rectum. They bring it out. They put a little plastic bag around it, your intestines on the outside. And you go into this bag. You cannot control yourself. You want to pass gas. You want to be polite. You don't want to do it in front of people. You have no control of a bowel movement to begin to smell. And I told God, when the bag burst a couple of mornings in a row and it ran all down my legs and on the floor, I said, God, I don't live like this. 89 pounds or not. Then after a year, they said to me, we're going to close the colostomy. And I was so when Dr. Gunn finished the surgery, I'd been in the hospital maybe over a week. He came in and he said to me, we might have to make it permanent. I turned my back to the wall and said, I don't want to live. Thank God for friends who were coming in on time. The same man that did not call me, the same friend, worked all night and worked late shifts, but they let him come in that unit. And he would get me out of that bed no matter how tired I was, no matter how I smelled, no matter how I looked, walk me up and down the aisle, because they said if she walks around, maybe she can get her bowels to move. Maybe it will be all right, but I didn't want to live. I made up in my mind I had this bag a year, and if I have to have it permanently, I don't want to live. By him doing that, finally, after about a week later, I began to have bowel sounds. When I made my bowel movement, you would have thought I was a millionaire. I ran and told my mother. It was such a joy. I was getting back to me. I moved back into my house and moved in. My house looked like a crack house. Him and the woman that he's married to today was answering my door as Kathy Burns at the time, answering my door. I don't understand how the other woman is angry with the wife. I've never, ever understood that kind of attitude. When you're wrong, you're just wrong, and don't get mad at the wife. I never got angry with him because I knew what he was when I married him. I knew he was a whore. He loved to run the streets. He chased women, but I just had to have it. I thought he's tall, light, he's handsome, he's big. I love that. And I also knew that he would beat me. He had done it before we got married. So I knew I never blamed God for the situation I was in. Never. I knew I made my own mistakes. So I never blamed God. I never said, God, why did you let me do this? My own mother said to me, I'm not going to your wedding because there's something about him I don't like. I got married in the courthouse. Had to have it. Already beat me, already running the streets. I knew what he was, but I just thought, I'm married to him. I got him. No matter what, I can make it better. You cannot make a person better. They've got to look deep within themselves and want to change. You can't make them better. If they're beating you and calling you all kinds of names, you need to run for your life because they don't respect you and they don't love you. It's all about control. You can't help them. They've got to reach out and get professional counseling. He wasn't able to do that. He blamed everything on alcohol. If you know that alcohol causes you to get violent, it's up to you to stop drinking it. No one is making you drink it. If it makes you violent and you're beating people, leave the alcohol alone. There's no excuse for what a person does to another person. And you're going to have to give an account to God for that when you leave this world. So if anyone is watching this video and you know that you are an abuser, you are a wife beater, or women, you are a husband beater or a boyfriend beater, whatever the situation is, it is it is up to you to seek professional help to stop you from doing what you're doing to another living creature. Domestic violence is something that you never ever recover from. It's with you forever. I have what they call post-traumatic stress syndrome. It's to wake up screaming, yelling, reliving the situation, being in that car and the car lighting up and him shooting me. I wake up screaming, my husband will wake me up. And when I went back to sleep, sometimes my nerves were so bad. And let me tell you, I was patting myself on the back. Survivor, as I said, I was happy. But whatever happens to you that's so traumatic, the brain will shut it down. This man was so manipulative. He knew my mom's number when I came out of the hospital. This man called me. Got a colostomy bag. I'm all shot up, weighing 89 pounds. I've got to get clothes from the kids section in the stores. I look a hot mess. I look terrible. He called me up and he talked me into going to the judge. Me being the person that I am, I'm the big person, I'm alive, I can make it. I went to the judge. Thank God the judge had more sense than me. At the time, I was Kathy Burns, and he said, Kathy Burns, let me tell you, Mrs. Burns, let me tell you, this is no longer between you and him, it's between the state. They were going to give him 25 to life because 2 children were in the car at the time. He only served 10 years on probation. When he was getting out of prison, I married my husband that I have now the same year. And I was nervous because I thought he was going to kill me. And let me go back to the children. In my mind, he was never abusive to them, never hit them or anything like that. And he would feed them while I was working. My son, he'd take him, we'd put a little tuxedo on him, have it in the back seat of the car. That was his buddy. So he never physically hit them. But when these children see this, when they're living in that environment, it hurts them. And I regret to this day I did not seek professional counseling for them. Thank God they all turned out well. No residual effects. But I know some of them, the 2 that were in the car, it's got to be something that stays with them. At any rate, when I married my husband that I have now, he got out of jail and he sent word. No. Let me back up. While he was in jail, he put me down as a visitor and his children. And me and my happy-go-lucky self didn't send them, I took them. At that time in the prisons, you had to be humiliated. They strip searched you all over. The kids too. But in my mind, he didn't do anything to the children. There he is. I never in the history that I've had my children when they were little to this day when they're adults, I never talked him down. I allowed them to form their own opinion. When the man got out of prison, he must have known every time he took a bite that his children needed to eat. I never got a dime of child support, didn't know anything about SSI, the system, didn't know anything about food stamps. I knew none of that. I asked God to raise me up when they said I'd never work again. Raise me up. I've got these 3 children. I've got to take care of them. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Raised me up, and I started working for a nursing agency. Going from hospital ICU to hospital. And one particular day, I believe my daughter was 12 years old. She had to walk in. They had to walk usually about 2 miles to school every single day. Get their clothes out at night and leave the money for lunch money or fix the lunches. And she made sure everybody got to school. She's always been like the second mommy. Always been protective over me. Thank God she wasn't in the car that day. She surely would have jumped up and called her good. Don't know why I left her, but I did. left her at home with that laundry. That was God's way. That was the inner spirit telling me something is going to happen. Don't take her. At any rate, when he was getting out of jail, I married my husband that I had. He got out and he sent word that he was going to finish the job. My husband found him and told him, "Want to see your children? I'll bring them to you. Just call the house when you're coming and I'll send them outside. But if you hit Hope again, I'm going to kill you." When they, these abusers, when they face a real man, they back down. I know I'm not going to do anything. No, I'm all right. He did that with a man. I never called him, never met him. He did call me one night, and I put the phone between my husband and myself and asked me, after shooting me 6 times with hollow point bullets, almost killing me, "You have the nerve to ask me to come out and meet you? Are you crazy? Or you think I'm still the same dumb woman that's going to do whatever you say I'm going to do your bidding?" It wasn't that kind of party. Put the phone between me and my husband. He said, "Oh, hang that damn phone up." Just like that. And that's just what I did. What do you think I'm going to do? Leave my husband and come out to you knowing the man that you are? Well, out of your mind. I don't know what you got planned now. You've already showed me you're going to kill me. Years later, I was working as a booking nurse in the county jail. And I would go around at the floors and give out the meds to the detainees. One day, I came in after a nice day off. My supervisor says to me, "Kathy, have you recently divorced?" I said, "We've been happily married for about 10 years. He said, "Well, your ex-husband's wife came into the infirmary and she said that you were causing her blood pressure to rise." I never even know what the woman looked like. I didn't care. Never wanted to know it. That wasn't on my list of things to do. Even though she took all of my furniture, sold my washer, my dryer, she tore my house up. She did everything she could possibly do. The other woman, I had to clean my house room by room. And I'm telling you, it looked like a crack house. She took all the clothes, dumped them on the floor. Why are you angry at me? I should be angry at you, but I don't care. You got him, more power to you. That particular day, the last day at work, before my day off, I got on the elevator. I never look up. I just speak to people because I'm a country girl. And that's what we do in the country. Tennessee, we talk. We say good morning, good afternoon. That's what we do. Never looked at the woman. Didn't really care. I came back the next day and he was telling that. I said, "No, I've been married 10 years. I didn't know she had come to the infirmary and said that I was troubling her. I later found out it was because she was the one on the elevator. Must have felt guilt because I didn't care anything about her. I politely, people, let me tell you, when you dig one ditch, you better dig two. You don't know who you're messing with when you do things. I never would have bothered her. I didn't care about him or her. Go your way. I'm alive. I'm happy. I'm well. I don't care. I would have given her fortune to just keep him over there. I didn't want him. I know what she had. Running the streets, womanizing, calling herself Mr. Big Stuff and coming home beating the hell out of me. And he didn't change. He probably got worse being incarcerated. So I knew what she was getting. Anyways, I sat down and I wrote a letter to her captain. I told him if I had $10 million, I would place it at her feet. Her name was Kathy as well. I'm not calling the last name, but you will figure it out. And if any of her people see this video, they know who she is. God knows who you are. And he's going to deal with you and him. I left it alone. I said, God, I'm not going to harbor any hate in my heart because I got to get to heaven. And I'm not going to let anyone or anything deter me from that. I'm going to stay focused and stay on the course. At any rate, when I began to write the letter, I told the captain what her husband had done to me, that he had shot me 6 times, that he was a felon. We're not supposed to be associated with felons when we work. That day, they escorted her out of the county jail. Don't try to do things to people because when you do, you are digging a ditch for yourself. I didn't hate her, never tried to find out who she was. I didn't care. All I knew is I was out of it, done with it, through with it, glad to be rid of him. You take it. I don't have a problem with you. Even the women that he was going with when we were married, they began to call my house and late at night, and I said, baby, I'm on my way to work. Call him back when I'm gone. We had those dial-up phones back then. Call him back when I'm gone. Had parties, and he'd bring his women to my house. They'd sit there. One night the police were called because we lived in a neighborhood where there was one black family behind us and one black family that had moved next door. They had already moved somewhere else. So there was two black families in this community. They called the police and they told him if he raised his voice, they're going to take him to jail. And he kept raising his voice and pointing his finger. They took him to jail. Me being a wife, I'll be there to bail you out. Don't worry about it. Before you get there, I'll have the bail money because that's my job, for better or for worse. I thought at the time. The woman that was there was saying, oh, if you're taking me to jail, you got to take me. His girlfriend sitting in my house. No respect. None. Called me on the phone. Pictures in his pocket of all these women hugged him. I really got to a point where I was numb to it. I couldn't change it. And I didn't want him to beat me because he would find excuses to do it. No matter what I did, it wasn't good enough. They will always chip away at you and you believe whatever they call you after a while. That's why with your children, you don't pronounce anything bad over them because you're putting that in the atmosphere. And pretty soon, they're going to believe what you say they are. So don't say things to people. You're no good, you're this, you're that. That is bad because they begin to see themselves as what you said. I was nothing. I was nobody. I should be grateful he was with me. Tiptoe around it. Get paid. He'd follow me to my job, beat me up, take my money, do what he wanted to do. I had no recourse in that except to kill him. And I was always afraid of going to jail. As I said before, the laws are different for women. Even though you have a restraining order, now women, you have cell phones. Please record these actions. Don't let him know that's what you're doing. Men, if you're being abused, don't let her know what you're doing. Record those actions so you have a video to back up what you say. And when you have to defend yourself, if it comes to that point, they have no choice but to call it self-defense. We've got to change this law. The black woman especially is at the bottom. Cajun men, Cajun women, black men, and black women. We're at the bottom. Even though we're the cream of the crop, we're queens. Stop allowing a man to tear you down. You have value and you have purpose. If you're being beaten, get a plan, keep it to yourself. Don't tell him, don't talk so much and reveal you're going because he will kill you. He will kill you for running your mouth. Wait until he's gone, he least expects it, pack your little, whatever your essentials are. Get 2 plastic bags and clothes on your back and get the heck up out of Dodge. If they say they're going to kill you, believe it because they're going to kill you. They mean it. If someone is trying to hurt me and they say, oh, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to try to talk my way out of it if I can. Doesn't make me a coward. It makes me a very wise person. If I can, somebody's going to know that the pastor has been in the fight. I'm Pastor C.O. Smith, but there are parts of me that are still dying. And if you approach me in the wrong manner, I'm not going to allow anyone to abuse me again. It's not going to happen. Jesus got angry and went in that temple, took a whip and beat up some people. We're not meant for folk to just walk over us just because we're children of God. Comes a time when you got to stand. You're David and Goliath, but you got to take a stand. Doesn't make you a coward, doesn't make you not a child of God, it makes you human. I'm just putting that in the atmosphere because people will try. And I don't want you to think that because you're a child of God that everything's okay. They'll walk away. In this generation, in this world, it's very dangerous. I'm a firm believer now. My ex-husband made a believer out of me. Tell me you're going to hurt me, you say you're going to kill me. Okay, I believe everything you say. I'm going to do my best to stay away from you. I have seen this man several times. See him in drugstores and He tries to pretend he doesn't see me. I speak to him. Hey, trying to figure me out. Hate him because I won't let anything stop me from going to the king. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Because I know God is real. And if you find anyone, tell me watch this video. I cannot describe what he looks like, but I can tell you there was a glow of love and my life flashed before me. He's real. He's pulled me out of some tight situations. When I was living in that house, I went back to it. The lady next door had a pool. I had a swing set. Talked every day. Said to me, if I stop talking with my husband, it's because he's a member of the KKK. I understood that, but we became friends. We talked. I'm out there with the kids on the swing in the yard, and she's with her kids in the pool. Great time. I knew she worked in a law office, knew where she worked, she knew my work. We all talked, we got along fine. That night I got ready to go to work, and I didn't have any bars in my house. I told God these words. I said, God, you take them. You can do more with them than I can. That same Ku Klux Klan walked his dog that night, called me. It was not her, it was him. Told me he thought he saw something around my house. He watched my house till I moved. You can't tell me what God can't do. He'll take your enemies and make them your footstool. Take the person that you think not to help you out if you only trust him. And I've learned to trust him in every situation. My brothers, my sisters, my kings, my queens, I want you to know that God is real. He sees you. He knows your plight. Cry out. But you can't ask God to do something you are not willing to do for yourself. As he's going to kill you, believe in it. Make a plan. Have a place to go out of state if you can. Make a plan to leave. I just wanted to leave you with that. This is domestic violence and also breast cancer awareness. Domestic violence is still running rapid all over this. Husband that I have now, I told you before, has never ever raised a hand. I was a person that raised a hand to hit him because I thought that was the way. Didn't know you could live with someone without having physical contact. That's what I was used to and accustomed to. That night when I hit him, he pulled that car over so fast I didn't know how we got to the side of the road. And I remember looking in his eyes and red. And he said to me, "Hope, I know you delirious. So I'm going to let that go. But the next time you hit me, I'm going to introduce you." There was something about the way he said it and the look in his eyes that I knew. He told me even before I got married, if you keep your little hands to yourself, I'll keep mine to myself. And he meant that. And he stuck to his side of the bargain. But as I said, some of us women, we know what we're used to. That's what we do. I never ever did that again because they sent him to Vietnam. He had to kill people he didn't want to kill. He suffers from bad post-traumatic stress syndrome because there were things that happened over there that he didn't even want to talk about. Those people went over there. We almost lost a whole generation. But he came back. I believe he spent 16, 18 months over there. Came back without getting the scratch, nothing on him. And he was in battle, he said, when they came and got him. He got in the helicopter to go back to the base. Came out of a firefight. They told him that he could either go home or he stayed 6 months over there. Time that he had left to stay in the army, they would give it to him. My husband said he looked at him and said, "Oh no, I'm going home." Someone else did want me. He wanted me even at 89 pounds when my legs looked like olive oil. 89 pounds. He asked me on a date. I didn't believe him. I thought he was joking, so I didn't show up, didn't give him a phone number. When I went to see him, I went in the store. He's the manager of the store. I went in and he said, "You stood me up. You're supposed to go to the classic." What happened? I thought he was kidding because I looked a hot mess. Still recovering from his gunshot wound. So terrible. But he was so serious and was so patient. And even now, when he has his post-traumatic stress, waking up screaming, he never curses. When he's into that state, he's cursing and he's shooting. He's got his fingers on the trigger. I wake him up. We're good for each other. This thing called domestic violence does not only affect your body, it affects your children and it affects your mindset. When you think you've survived it, you're patting yourself on the back. After you settle down and things begin, so you don't have to worry so much about the kids, the brain says, now it's time to do this. And you end up in a mental institution because I did not seek professional counseling. I thought I was good. I survived it. Don't hate anybody. God is good. Didn't know that the brain was going to eventually say, you didn't deal with this problem. So if you are a victim of domestic violence, don't let anyone make you feel bad about going and seeking psychiatric care. It's good for you. Wish I had done it earlier. Wish I had taken my kids to counseling because you will suffer the rest of your life. I have pain. I've had pain since he shot me. Every now and then, my bowels will lock up. I have to go in there to do what they call lysis of adhesions. That's when you have keloid skins and the keloids form on the inside and make a lot of scar tissue. Now nothing can get through your bowels and you're throwing up all the time. Lost out on my teeth because I constantly threw up. The enamel was eaten away. You never ever get over being shot. Don't let anybody fool you. You will feel it the rest of your life. When your body is injured, God has saved you, but you will certainly know that you got shot. Don't let anybody fool you that they're surviving and all of this and nothing is happening. That's not how it goes. Get some counseling. See your doctors. Do what they tell you. And if you have children in that situation, take them. I hope that you will share this video, that it will help someone else who is dealing with domestic violence know that they have value and they have a purpose. To seek God first, but above all things, get out with your life. I love you, my brothers and sisters. This is Pastor Stephen Smith. I hope that this has helped someone who is out there struggling with those issues. Don't be ashamed. Don't let anybody tell you what they would do. You don't know what they would do. They're not in your shoes. Do what you need to do to get out of that situation. I love you. God bless you. On Friday night, I'm going to do Q&A on YouTube and possibly Facebook. People that are going through domestic violence. I did do some work with women in distress. If you're going through some domestic violence and you just need to talk and you want to ask some questions about how to get out, how did I manage to get out, I want you to come in, give me your questions, and I will try to answer them to the best of my ability, whatever you need to talk about. You can vent. God has given me a ministry, and the ministry is called Broken Pieces Being Made Whole. God can make you whole. You have value, purpose. I need you to learn to walk in it, to stand in it, and not be moved. You are uniquely made, wonderfully and fearfully made. You're not that B word that they call you. You're not the ugliest thing. You're not the blackest thing. You're not any words that they call you. You're a child of God. Never ever forget that. You're not here by accident. You're here because God wants you. But it's up to you to get out. God does not want to do what you can do for yourself. Leave him or her. Not when you have been beaten for years. The first time they hit you, what's love got to do with it? Pack up and leave because it's going to get worse as you go. I love you. Tune in at 7 o'clock on Friday, Q&A. I pray that this will help someone who's struggling. You don't know what to do. You got kids and you want to stay for the kids. You're hurting the children. Leave. I'm telling you now, leave. I love you. As I said, God bless you. And may the peace of God overtake you. Thank you so much for listening. Please like and share this video. Perhaps it will help someone else who's struggling with this issue. God bless you.